everyone. Welcome to Kasia's Voice. I have a privilege today to have one of my, and I feel so fortunate to be able to call her my friend, Nadia Eftedal. Hello, Nadia.
Hey guys. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kasia.
Hello. Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being with me here. And I'm sure our whole dance world knows. I mean, she is the legend of our ballroom world. Being a Latin dancer, you know, she has been the inspiration. We've all, especially in Eastern Europe, we've watched your tapes and we tried to copy your moves for years and years. And we were little ones. So you definitely play.
So that makes me a dinosaur. Oh my God.
Oh, no. You just meant a world to all of us. And I do not know if I've ever shared this with you since now. And I feel so privileged to be able to call myself your friend. When I was speaking, so my brother used to dance as well. And of course, we both, together with the whole dance community in Poland, would watch you and inspire you to be just like you. So I remember talking to my brother when I said, and I mentioned you, that I speak to you and we're friends. He goes, Nadia Eftedal, you know her? She is your friend? She's the person on TV. She's the person, you know, it's like, it was so hard for him to wrap his head around that now we interact not just at the professional level, but we actually talk about things that matter to us as human beings. And so thank you so much for giving me that privilege. This is so awesome.
Oh, that's so sweet to hear. That's such an uplifting little story in these days where there's so much happening around us that's unsure and uncertain.
That is true. That is true. But I think we all have all these fabulous, close to our heart experiences, right? And it's so nice to revisit them, right? Even when it's tough, it's so nice to kind of go back and like, oh my God, that means so much to me. And it gives me so much joy. So thank you for being my joy.
Oh, thank you. You are a little ball of sunshine, you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right.
All right. So let's talk.
Let's talk. Why don't we inspire other people?
Well, one of the things I'm thinking about is exactly that, how to stay inspired and motivated in a time where you feel that things are out of your control.
Totally.
And, you know, as I think back on my own career, at times where there were situations out of my control, for example, injury. When my partner, there was a time where my partner had he had twisted his knee. Okay. Oh, wow. He had twisted his knee and there was no dancing for 5 or 6 weeks. And then later on in our career, at a very pivotal time in our career, I then injured myself as well. And, you know, so it's out of your control. You feel like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. And
what to do
at that time, it feels like we're stopped, but everybody else is moving forward. Everybody else is getting better. They keep moving, they keep practicing, they keep having lessons. So they're getting information and I'm not getting information and I'm being held back. Well, right? Yeah. But so at least at this point in time, everybody's in the same situation, which is on pause. But, you know, I have to say that what we have the ability to access now allows us to move much deeper into our dance journey than what we had in my time. For example, you know, there is so much more in-depth study in every area about expression, movement, music, the relationship between mind, body, and the mind and the body, yes, and the spirit as well, because on an emotional level. And I think the question that somebody might want to ask themselves first is, what do I want out of my dancing? Am I here in the dancing because I want the trophy, because I want to be a champion and I want to succeed, and that I'm going to get that trophy? Or am I here to show my ability? Look how flexible I am. Look at all these, I want to be seen.
Correct.
Okay. Or the third possible avenue is I'm here because I want to learn. I just want to be on a road that exposes me to many new creative topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really worried that much about where it ends. I just am enjoying
the journey,
the knowledge, the experience, right? The people. Yeah. And I think that this question, what do I want out of it, is something maybe that we take for granted, right? If somebody comes in and they go to a competition and they say, well, of course I want to win. Of course I want to learn. Of course I want to be seen. So it's kind of the automatic response.
Right.
But I really would want to put that forward to anybody who's watching. Mm-hmm. Which one of those three, to be the champion, the success and have the trophy, or to be on show, mm-hmm. or to gain the knowledge and experience? Yes, we do. I know that there is some element of all of it within us too. But I know that something, even by a hair, outweighs something else, right?
Right, because I think that's what sets us apart, right? That's almost like the driven force. We all practice, we all get ready, but deep inside, if you ask that question without anyone judging you, without anyone watching, right, without comparing yourself to someone else, what it is that it's important to me, and be brave enough to admit this to yourself, and be brave enough then to say it to other people, let's say, including your partner, including your coaches, including, the immediate,
your team,
I would call it team. And then that's how it presents itself outside, and not to be afraid that just because you want something else, that it's less important, right? Because I think you could be fabulous, assuming that you're true to yourself.
Well, right? And exactly. And it also, you see, acknowledging your end point or your driving force is so important. And I say this because it actually doesn't matter what your partner's motive is, because the two things can find harmony. They can be worked together. But you see, for example, if I'm teaching somebody who says to me, listen, I don't really care about competition, and yes, I like learning, but I want to experience performing, and I want to try all that fabulous choreography out there. I want to push myself out of my comfort zone, and I want to be on the stage. I want to be seen. I'm here for the show. I want a fabulous dress. And so by talking about that, it already gets my mind in a new place so that I can actually be more effective as a coach, because suddenly the information that I present is geared towards the performance.
It's not aligned. Yes.
It's not about giving, for example, the history of the cha-cha-cha.
Right.
A person who wants to be on show is not going to value that much about the history of the cha-cha-cha compared.
And it's not really that important to them for where they want to go, right? It's not something that's even relevant to them. Yes.
And I mean, and again, it needs to also be brought forward, and there is no judgment. Right. Because you see, my motivation, this whole thing came about when I was still in England. Mm-hmm. And we were, so John and I we were in the transition from one coach to another. And this other coach had said to us, before we would even have any lessons, mm-hmm. he sat us down, we had a meeting, like an audition. And he said, what are your expectations out of this? What do you want from me? What do you expect from me? Mm-hmm. And our mouths fell open, because you have to understand, we're back in the late 80s, early 90s at this point. Nobody was talking about this kind of stuff. If you called somebody for a lesson, you got in, you had a lesson, take your money, thank you very much, goodbye. There was no deeper thought put into what is this whole thing about. So first of all, that was shocking, because it was just so foreign.
Yes.
Foreign. But you see, what motivated me at that point in time may not be what motivates the student, the dancer standing in front of me today. All right, we're 30, 40 years out, or however many years out we are. And that's fine. And it doesn't matter what motivated me and what motivates the person in front of me. But the fortunate thing is I have experience, and I have this groundwork, this foundation of, yes, in my mind, there are different motivating factors. And therefore, the way I approach dancer A is going to be slightly different than I would approach dancer B. And even if they are a couple within a partnership, we can still find harmony. We can still find harmony, even if their motivation is slightly different.
So would you say, so I have a few questions, right?
Yeah.
As we're talking, I'm like, okay, let's see how.
Okay, let's get into it. Go on.
So I love, one of the things that I would like us to kind of explore maybe a little bit more, to be brave enough for each person to say, this is what motivates me, this is what motivates me. And then finding a way together as a couple, right? And then kind of like you said, having that conversation with your coach, this is what we're after. And then having that conversation with the coach to kind of see, okay, how can we navigate through that, right? Because just like any relationship, right? Any partnership, it could be dancing or life, you have two individuals that come from different backgrounds, that have different ideas or different inspiration, what gets them forward. But then we decide we want to move in particular direction together, and we need to find a way, right? Almost like agreeing on disagreeing, agreeing that this works for you, this works for me, and how can we create a unit together that gets us where we wanted to go, right? With respect, with understanding of one another. And then another thing I would like us to maybe talk about, that our inspiration could change as we move through different phases of our dancing. When we're competing, right? Then when we start competing and we maybe just do the shows, and then later on moving into being a coach and being the teacher. And therefore the way we look at dancing will change as well. What drives us to be the dancer, what drives us to stay within the dance community will change, and be okay with that, and understanding that that's a natural progression. And we don't have to, because I feel we all have been present to someone who competed and now they're teaching and they still have the same attitude. I'm like, no, now you are in the role of a coach. Now you are the educator versus the doer. So certain things will have to change. You have to find a different way of inspiring yourself and inspiring your people, right? Because now we have taken a different path.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first thing you talked about is the couple. And so what you were saying is that they have two different motivating driving force, or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it. And, regardless of what the driving point is, still have to have, there is a common denominator of, well, yes, everybody still has to be able to manage the physical coordination. You still have to be able to have some connection to the rhythm, right? Connecting the physical with the music. And so there is a area that has to be
the same.
Yes, it has to be the same. It's shared, partnering and music and physical coordination. But once that is at a place where it's enough, it's adequate.
Yes.
Then, if one partner says, well, I want to learn more, I want to go deeper into the study, they can do some self-study. For example, moving into the history of dance, moving into the history, learning more about musical instruments, about phrasing of music. The other one says, well, I want to be on show. Fabulous. Then you have to do some exploring on what it means, performance skills, how angles of the body relate to being observed by the audience, right? Whether you're, and this goes into theater as well, right? Moving forward, moving backwards on the floor, the shape, the focus, the energy from the body, even if I don't look at you. So right? So part of their practice can be devoted to their own individual interests, right? And so that still fulfills them and moves them in that direction, where partner A is going to be as actually getting better as the performer, and partner B is more satisfied with the dancing because of the knowledge that this partner is gaining. So by learning about the history, by learning about the music, when they're doing something, they find some internal satisfaction. So this is what I'm trying to say as far as.
And they can share those things, right? I think like if you understand that this is what's important to your partner, and your partner understands this is what's important to me, when we have a conversation, right, when we're practicing, we can actually engage in those subjects that we know are important. So you understand that the other person actually hears you, right? If I know that to you, let's say the performance is important, let's say to my partner, and I am within the history, maybe I can have a history on the performance, right? I could say, okay, this might be something that might be interesting to my partner. And the same, for my partner, if they know that the history is important and they are all about performance, we can maybe somehow have the communication that open the curiosity of the other person, and understanding that, okay, we commit that amount of time to exploring of our history, of understanding where does it come from, where does it go, how does it apply, and then having also that glamour of performance, because they're just back again to any relationship. It's a give and take, right? Yeah. You cannot be so selfish, oh, this is the only thing I wanted to do. And I feel that sometimes when we say people be strong and committed to yourself and find yourself, sometimes that translates, oh, I got to put that upon everybody else. I'm like, no. You have to be true to yourself and understand, but also be flexible, right? And kind of see how could you navigate, because if you want to create a partnership with someone else who might not have the same priorities as I do, how can we be flexible enough to make sure I get what I need and the person get what they need? Again, you can call this either compromise or navigate in a flexible way. So at the end, we both are happy. Because otherwise it's a tug of war and thinking, who is going to have the last word. And I feel that's where lots of couples struggle oftentimes, because it becomes, no, my way is the right way, or my way is the right way.
Yeah, no, if and I just want to say that, and even if one is doing performance and the other one is doing, let's say, knowledge and history and something, they don't have to share that information. It has to be okay if they don't. Because what if one partner's not interested? One partner, and it's okay too. See, because at the end of the day, each person has to get on with it. Do what you're supposed to do, and you do what you're supposed to do. And if everybody's doing their thing, there actually will be harmony within the couple. Okay. Because not everything needs to be shared, because if the person's not interested, it's okay. B, sometimes it doesn't even affect the other person. Correct. Right?
Oh, totally.
But it affects me. It brings me greater clarity, greater understanding, so that when I go in to do my cha-cha-cha, my chassé, or my, rondé, my hip twist chassé or something like this, my cha-cha lock, or I have to delay something, I have a reference point, a visual reference point. Oh yeah, I was watching that video and I saw those Cubans doing this, that. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what it looks like. Oh yeah, that's what it feels like. Okay. the other partner just gets the benefit. And you're happy, and you don't need to know about my videos and my history lesson. So it is all okay, because at the end of it, everybody just needs to get on and do their thing and do it the best they can.
Correct. That's it. Like, I think to be okay with doing your thing and not forcing the other person, you always have to be part of that, right? Kind of like, just like you were saying, I don't have to even share that with you. If this is what makes me happy, then find the time to do whatever you need to do, and then having the conversation that related to my partner. Then we can have things that we share, and then we can have things that are giving us the joy to be the best dancer that you individual can possibly be.
Yeah. And that is very much, you see, the whole point of this conversation is to help people, A, still feel motivated about their dancing, and B, to be effective.
Correct.
Right? To be effective. And then that takes me into your second thought, which was, well, when somebody has the natural progression from being the dancer into now being the coach or the teacher, as soon as you go into this being the coach or what is it now? Because basically you're the driver of the car. You're directing, guiding somebody to this end point, and from that perspective, I feel we need to be effective to share information, and be neutral about it. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're all here because we love dancing. We love dancing.
Very true. Yes.
We may not all agree on the same approach, but we love dancing. So therefore, no judgment, no shame. It doesn't make somebody bad if they don't want to win the trophy. Yeah. And it's nobody's better or worse for what their motivation is. I, as a neutral party, can stand there and let me support you as you go on that road. That's what I feel coaches are supposed to be doing, coaches and teachers. Let me support you.
Exactly. Let me support your journey.
Yes, that's it, because our journey's done. I've been there, done that. We crossed over that line, right? We're no longer the competitor or the demonstrator, right?
You know it, and I do have to say, sometimes we have to let go, because I remember having a conversation with someone, and they asked me about competing, right? And so I share with them what my experience of competing is, and what I think competing brings, and how they should go about it, right? And they said that they want to compete, and all of a sudden they were very against it, like, oh, but this doesn't feel right, and we want to do it our own way. And of course, at first I was like, oh, right? Like, what do you mean? Because of course, when we start caring for people, right, you want to give them all of this, and I'm like, no. And then I thought, you know what? It's okay. I have to let it go to some degree of saying, okay, I can share with you how I've gotten there. I can share with you now, looking at other people, right, having the journey and being there and understanding. And if you're not there to respect that and understand that, that's okay, right? You might just take either a different path, or at some point you have to say, okay, you're telling me this is your goal. I'm telling you, as someone who's been there, this is what it takes. And you are telling me, well, I'm not so sure. I'm like, I get it. You have not been there. And, and part of me, on one hand, I'm like, are you crazy? You've been here for so long. You need to follow someone who's gotten there. But if you're okay doing your thing, and you do not really want to get there, because clearly, if you're not following a path of a champion that's gotten there, it doesn't have to be me. It could be anyone else, right? If you're kind of going, well, this is my way, and I'm looking at your way, and I'm like, you've been in the same spot for a really long time. Clearly, maybe winning or competing at that level, as much as you think maybe that's your path, somehow your action do not represent that. And then as a coach, I have to go, you know what? That's okay. Like you said, I've had my journey. I have my glory. I've gotten there. And if someone would like to copy my path or talk to me about the experience and try to apply this, that's great. But if someone is not interested in that, that's okay too.
It is. It really has to be. It really has to be, because back in my time when we were when I was training was different mindset than when you were training, and it's a totally different society is different. Everybody's role, right? When I was training, you had the teachers up here and the students were down here. Right. There was clearly a distinction between who does everybody's role, right? Teachers talk, students say, okay, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, right? Do whatever you say. In your time, it was already changing, right? And nowadays, it's much more fluid, much more, it's much more flow, because people actually want to experience, they want to have their own experience. They don't necessarily want to be told, this is how to do it. Yeah, well, this is what I did. This is one way, but you know what? It is not the only way. And there is enough science out there. There's enough analysis of all aspects about performing, about relation, about music, about the anatomy, how the body works. There's so much more information out there today that, you know what? Let me open the door and show you here. You know, I was successful. There are many people who have walked through this door, but you know, it's your choice. You can try it. If you don't like it, man, you are free to do something else.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. And I think it's like you were saying, it's an interesting journey, right? And I see, as we see this throughout just society, not even just our dance world, right? That the lines are getting so blurry. And I think, like anything, like, you know, two sides to a coin. There's the good and there's the bad, right? There is that, yes, we're exploring this. We are more flexible. We see other ways of doing it. Therefore, we can take dancing to another level, right? People are much more curious. They have their own way of doing stuff, or they want to do their own way. But on the other hand, sometimes there is a price of, just like in a society, not respecting the elderly, not respecting of what was the history, what was the way of doing stuff. So as interesting the new way is, I feel that a lot of time it takes a longer route, because we became so I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. We get so fascinated with so many aspects, we go nowhere. Like you going to the bus station and you go, oh my God, there is 15 destinations. They all look fabulous. Why don't I go 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, versus this is one destination that I want to go. I pack my bags and I'm going there for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? And you have a much fuller experience of it. So being the coach myself, it's hard to tell which one is better or worse, right? We kind of, like you're saying, we have to be somewhat neutral, somewhat, you know, encouraging our kids, our little ones, no matter what age they might be, right? To kind of go, well, this is the way we're going. Let's see how we can still guide you, but giving you the freedom that the whole world is having right now, still creating some structure based on, do you want to compete? Do you want to perform? Do you want to be educated about the information, right? So that's, I feel, for us coaches as well, it's a little bit of a challenge, right? To give our subjects the freedom, but still enough structure to guide them in the direction that they are saying that they would like to go.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and the thing is, nowadays, people have so many more experiences in their life that they bring into dancing. So their view, their point of view, their perspective on things is very different. the dance, we do offer some structure, you know, some guidelines. So for example, we have technique, or we have action, footwork, we have direction, alignment, we have amounts of turn. This is our technical structure.
Correct.
Okay, how to use your legs, how they pass under the body. This is kind of the structure, the agreed upon
Right.
Rules within the establishment of this is what makes a Roomba look like a Roomba.
Correct.
Okay, it's all organized. There's an organizational, right?
Right.
And so we agree, that's agreed upon, therefore it allows for the structure. And once somebody has sort of gone through that phase, that those levels of mechanics, and then understanding the music and understanding positioning, hands, arms, then they want to get into the juicy stuff, you know, because it's the juicy, it's the creative aspect that, whoa, that's the fuel to the fire.
That's it.
And, you know, if you were to take a jazz dancer, a ballet dancer, you know, they have different skills, different experiences, and they would like to integrate it into our ballroom world. I think that's fabulous. It's wonderful. This is the evolution. You see this, and we have to make sure that we allow for evolution, because we are so far removed from the original authentic style. We're so far from that. What we do is not what's being done in Cuba, right?
Totally.
I mean,
yes,
right?
Yes.
We're so, but we are something new. We are a dance form.
Yes.
Anyway, my point was for people to want to stay inspired. First was asking those 3 questions so that they kind of recognize it within themselves. And then start to explore, for example, if they want to be a better competitor, you know, what is inside, what is within your control, your stamina, your physical ability, you know, maybe they need to do more strength training, more cardio, maybe they need to improve, right? And maybe they also need to start learning more about dynamics, right? About energetic, how the body has to work energetically as a competitor, right?
What does it mean to be a competitor? Right? What exactly? And because I think I've noticed, based on another conversation or a few conversations I have with competitors, sometimes we say we want to compete, but then when you're being presented, what does it mean? You go, I don't like it. I'm like, okay, so why, how could you say you want to compete, right? Because we just have this idea looking from the outside. But then when you understand, okay, you need to have the strength, you need to have the dynamic, you know, that almost aggressive approach to it, right? A little bit of a push. Competing means you have to outdo other people. I don't want to outdo other people. I'm like, well, then clearly you don't want to compete, right? This is not a friendly match. And I'm not saying you have to be mean to people, but you have to have that tightness within the mind, within the brain, like, okay, almost like a little warrior, right? You know, I am tough because I want to get ahead of other people. And there is a certain amount of tightness. There's a certain amount of, right? When you start competing versus when you're performing, you don't have to engage in that, right? You don't have to engage to that level. But I feel that lots of time we as coaches do not explain that to our couples. This is what it means to be a competitor. This is what it means to be a show person. This is what it means just to exploring, right? So then they can make much more educated decision or guess versus just kind of like, oh, I think I like this, without ever understanding what would that take to get wherever they wanted to go.
Right. Well, I think even within the industry, if you were to take a poll amongst professionals,
yes,
how they, because every professional, right? Everybody has a different history, their own dance history, right? And their experience, their degree of how far they went, whatever, which country they learned in, right? The training methods. So everybody has something else. And so I think that asking the question, do you even see a difference? Maybe some people from different places don't even see a difference. You are everything.
Right.
And then here I am saying, well, actually, in my mind, you have the option. You can be the competitor, which it starts in the mind. And
Oh,
and
totally.
one thing I just wanted to add to that is, yeah, you're going to kill them. You're going to kill the other people, but you're going to kill them with great dancing.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah, right.
You're not going to kill them because you're so forceful, but you're going to kill them with great dancing.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's the thing. You have to understand, I am a competitor, but competitor dancer. You're not a boxer. This is not who is going to outtake the other person, right? So I think kind of like there are so many different levels. Understanding I want to be a competitor, but then knowing what game are you playing? The game that we're playing is the dancer. So then you have to develop the skill as a great dancer that competes, not that you are just a little bulldog ready to, bite other people. Yes.
Right. I mean, it in one way, I'm trying to simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, on another level, it's quite complex too.
Correct. Oh, totally.
It truly is. It is not quite so simple, but at least it's a starting point for people to still feel some motivation or some direction, especially at a time like this where we're kind of limited in how we can interact, visit, go to the studio and train. Totally. But what we can do is, first go into the self and kind of have a better understanding of what I want, why I want it, and what if you don't get that thing you want? What is that going to, right? Because this is another aspect. Just because you want it doesn't mean you're going to get it. And for people who come and say to me, those judges, and I just want to fall over laughing and say, honey, here's the pen, you go and do it. Because first and foremost, but I think one thing we have to all acknowledge is that before anybody was a judge, they themselves were the dancer.
Oh, totally.
Right? We are all from the same, we all
experience the same things. I mean, we all were like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening. And this was so important, right? And you are like, you feel like the whole world is against you. A lot of time you feel like the judges are against you. So one of the things I always tell couples, I'm like, we are actually rooting for you. Unfortunately, we just had this tough job. We have to rank you. I mean, all of you could be fabulous, but unfortunately, our job is we have to choose who is going to get the trophy and who is going to be in what order placed, right? There's just no other way around it. And so, but we've, like, if you go back of how we used to feel, we probably had the same thing. Oh my God, these judges, what do they know? I'm working so hard.
Yeah.
So true.
So, yeah. Well, and so at a time like this where people are kind of inside or quarantined, there are ways to continue the journey. For example, competitors can learn more about sports psychology and look in that realm of how the mindset and the approach and the preparation that has an effect on the end performance. People who want to be more about showmanship, performance skills is a great avenue, and listening. I mean, there are so many tutorials online and articles. I mean, there's so much information. We're overloaded with information. And then people who want to just be knowledgeable, of course, they want to dance well. I am not trying to negate the other elements.
Correct.
But there's one that sort of,
yes, closer to the heart.
A little bit closer to the heart, and if that was the knowledge and the, then you go into the history of dance, learn about music, learn about the countries, right? The countries where the dances came from. And the aristocracy, there were levels within society, that had an effect on the type of dancing that the people were doing.
Correct. That we were allowed.
And whether they were even allowed or not allowed, whether it was from the government or from the religion, so, but now the doors are opening, right? And everybody's coming into it. There are ways to still keep yourself growing in dance, even if you're not physically doing it. There are exercises, there are drills, there are
And there's so much stuff out there, kind of like you were saying, there is so much information that right now
yes,
might not necessarily do the physicality, although everybody has a little space in their home to do some kind of stuff,
right.
right? So you still could keep on training your body, but now this will be a time because you're not competing. You're not going, oh my God, next weekend I'm going somewhere, or next weekend I'm going 2 or 3 competitions. So you have a little bit more time to be a little bit more present to the questions that you've asked.
I think the inner journey,
Mm-hmm.
I think that because the pace of our American competition scene is so
Fast.
accelerated. I mean, there is no other country in the world that has the amount of competitions like we do. We have got that down like a machine. We know how to run competitions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but that keeps us very external, very out, you know? So now is a wonderful time to go in.
Yes.
And talk to your dancer who lives inside of you. You know?
Yes, exactly. Find your motivation, right? Find your, why am I dancing? Why am I doing this? What's the reason for me, right? Versus getting so used to, I gotta compete. And people, I think, are so used to that they don't have time to practice anything to make a big difference. They're just doing the same, almost like just putting more makeup on top, but you never have the time to, okay, I gotta take the old makeup off, right? Clean the face, and then I'm going to reapply, right? A fresh coat. So if we take the time that right now we are sitting at home doing not as many physical activities and exploring, that by the time we're able to go to the studio, you can actually have a better understanding, right? And anyone, because oftentimes I've noticed that people think, oh, I just have to train my body. And you do, of course, you do have to train your body, but we all know that in order to get wherever we wanted to go, it's your mind, it's your setup, it's a thinking, and then your emotions attached to it that allows the body to be as productive as we want it to. Without that, the body is very limited, right? The body just stands still. It's almost like you have a great car and no driver, right? Or you have no navigation system. You have a driver, you have a great car, but you do not know where you're going. You're just driving around the circle, right? And it's kind of pointless. And part of it, I feel like it comes with the maturity, right, of a dancer as well, right? And right now, being in that position that we are, we can actually gain that maturity by exploring, by studying all these things that we are curious about.
Well, even talking about it. See, this is the thing. We now have time to talk about it and for people to hear it and listen, not just hear it, but actually let it go in, because we're calm. Life is calm. And yeah, if you can't go out, I normally am out, energy out, everything on the external, outside. Yeah, well, we can't go there. So where are we going to go? We go in. We have to go in. We have to become sensitive and listen to what's happening inside, what excites us. Mm-hmm. Follow the curiosity. Absolutely. Because that will change how one, a willingness to create dancing, being the creator of the dance, you know?
Yes, that's so well said. Mm-hmm.
That is what makes someone stand out from the rest.
Right, because I think I love what you just said, to be the creator and to be the creator of your own dance, of your own thing, understanding that this is really mine. Yes, I'm doing ballroom dancing. Yes, I'm doing Latin rhythm, smooth, standard. I'm doing this within the realm of that particular style, but inside, what makes me, me? Because those are the people that I believe becoming the champions. Those are the people that change the dancing when they're really true to themselves. You could be inspired by others, right? And I always ask my clients, okay, look at someone that you like, but then ask yourself what it is that you like. Not overall, they're fabulous. You can start from that big umbrella, they're fabulous, but then what it is that you admire. right? Do you like the musicality? Do you like the strength? Do you like the speed, right? The way they portray themselves on the dance floor. And then you go deeper and deeper into, oh, this is really what I like. This is what makes me, me. So then you can keep on exploring and digging it and see, okay, this is my inspiration, but how can I create, taking maybe some of the elements or qualities and create my own thing? Almost like decorating your own house or putting your own outfit on, being inspired by someone, but then go, I like this dress, but the earrings and the shoes and, you know, or the tie, right? Or a particular word that you put on is yours. So now when you show up in the world, you have parts, right? Made it great, but you're making it your own. So then people actually see you. And I think that's will be so fabulous for all of us to be able to find that.
Yeah. We both agree. I think that's what we need to do. Well, anyway, I mean, that's my thought on how anybody who is feeling a little stuck or a little, losing the motivation, this would be my suggestion. Ask yourself the 3 questions, or ask yourself the question, correct, what do I want out of it? And the 3 options. I mean, of course there could be more, but the first 3 that, right?
Correct.
Is it for the trophy that I want to be a winner? Is it for I want to be the performer? Or is it that I want to be, I want to learn. I want to just have the knowledge and the experience.
Correct.
And then from there, well, then what does it take to be that?
Correct. Right. So that would be a really nice, like you said, maybe a simple start in the beginning, but it's a start, right? It gives you some options. And then you can kind of divide these options, or you can discover, oh, I like this, but I also like this. You can combine things, but at least you have a little bit more clarity and you feel like you're still going somewhere. You're not
still developing. We're always developing.
Correct.
People, nobody's born a champion. All right. Nobody's born a champion. All right. They get there through a lot of hard work, but it's not just the physical hard work. And this you have to always remember. Yes. It's about what you do with yourself emotionally. Break down those walls. What you do with yourself, dealing with your own baggage, your own conflict up there, how you sort that out, how you come to terms with all the different parts of dancing. So I think this is a nice field where people can know that if they calmly, accept it and then start moving in that direction, the dancing will speak loudly. It will shine.
It's just like you said in the beginning, it's to learning how to cope or work through the unknowns, like the injuries, right? This is not necessarily an injury, but this is almost like we're stuck, like we're injured, right? And of course,
out of our control.
Exactly. Yeah. How to gain the control, because that's really what I truly believe one of the qualities of the champions are, to be able to find the control in a situation that looks like it's completely out of control, or become when things seems they're panicky, right? When you find that way of navigating, I believe that's a big part of being a good competitor and also becoming a champion. Because even at the competition, there are so many things that could go they're unpredictable, that could go slightly wrong, right? And it's the people that are able to maintain the calmness and find its way through it usually end up being at the top, versus the people that don't have that skill just yet, they end up falling apart, right? And then they're always kind of scrambling, right? Because
they're afraid of it. Yeah,
you're afraid. Yes. So I think that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for having us. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you and just to see you, even though we cannot see each other in person. This is our new norm.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and in a way it has its pluses, because now we can take advantage of all the technology that is accessible to us. You don't have to go to a country to explore all these things. You can Google it and you can find it, information sitting in your living room, right? Sitting in a balcony, right?
Oh,
yes. So that's the beauty of it. I mean, it never takes away. It cannot be substituted with it's nice to go explore things. And I feel like once we're out, we probably will appreciate those physical places and the physical connection that we have. But for right now, we just have to enjoy each other through the screen, through that iCloud.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So now we have to do a little bit of, I call this, we have to bust a fun move. I know, because we love to dance, right? No matter what. Yes.
Happy.
Thank you, Nadia. You are awesome. I so appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you, my friend. Big hug. Bye.
Bye.